Welcome to the Horror Hangout, a podcast where two bearded film fans watch the 50 best horror movies ever and then talk about them. My name is Luke Kondo with a K, and I'm joined by my regular co-host, Mr. Ben Errington. Mr. Double Mister tonight.
I'm feeling
Fancy
double
pants, Fancy pants.
I'm feeling
Mr.
double
Mr.
mystery
Bennington.
tonight.
How's it going, man? You right?
Good, man. How the devil are you?
Not too bad. You say you've been poorly. You've got a poorly leg. Is that right?
I've been having some issues with my leg. I'm not sure what it is. Old age, perhaps. I've just been having some sort of like shooting pain in my leg, which I feel like is definitely, probably impending death. But you know, well, I got to deal with it. Whatever happens, so we'll die, don't I? This could be my last podcast. If that happens, I'm gonna have to put my all into it.
Yeah.
So you know, I'll leave a legacy. Then people will like, remember that podcast they did on Stranger Things? That was next level stuff.
It was next level stuff. So if you,
how are you? You look like you're in the.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah. Okay, so if you're watching the video feed, I might look a little bit different. So the electrics in our house are kind of weird, and this is an old house, and things blow all the time. So like bulbs will pop all the time. I was on to like the last one in the kitchen, which is where I record. I do a lot of things in the kitchen, but it's also where I record. And it blew on the way home today, so I didn't get a chance to get anyone. So if you're watching the video, it looks like I'm in the inside out, upside down.
The inside out. I mean, that's just as terrifying.
Yeah.
A bulb blew with me as well today. Isn't that weird? Whereas like we're connected in some sort of way on some sort of astral plane.
Well, I'm trying to communicate with you from the upside down, and then like trying to blink the lights like it does on Stranger Things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I had a very upside down like type moment where I was in the bathroom and I looked up into the light fitting, and there was it was weird, like it's all dark. It's like a sort of weird glass dome, and it was all dark in there. And I was like, "Oh, what's going on in there?" So I unscrewed it to get a better look, and a load of flies came out. Load of horrible flies.
Really? What, outside of the bulb itself, or the fixed...
It's not the bulb. It's like this globe. So there's a bulb inside it, and then there's like a glass globe that's underneath, dome type thing. And all the dark patch I could see was like all these tiny little larvae.
Larvae. I like it.
So I did what any sane person would do, and I hoovered them up.
Hoovered them up with the mouth, right in, right in.
I said, "Ooh, oh, lovely." I actually hoovered them up with an actual hoover. And that was when my light blew, because I like tapped the bulb. Must have tapped it. I tapped it super delicately, like how you would tap a knob end, and it just blew on me. I was like, "Fuck!" That always happens with knob ends as well.
Yeah. I did my work experience at Rent-A-Kill, which is like the place where they kill animals, basically, like pest control. And I remember going into this old people's house on one of the shifts, and we went into the attic because they'd had some sort of problem, and we needed to go check it out. And we opened up the attic door, and the floor, like, it looked black, looked like a weird black carpet, but it was actually brown. It's just covered in like dead flies, like absolutely, like completely. Like, it was a large room, and it's just you couldn't see the carpet for the dead flies. It was horrible. So it took me a long time to hoover them up, and I didn't need lunch or tea. Yeah.
For 3 days.
Yeah.
Oh, lovely. What was the biggest thing you killed at Rent-A-Kill?
Well, I didn't kill anything, but I did a lot of checking. So you went around checking like
Rent-A-check,
like checking like the rat traps and stuff to see if anything was inside
the raptor traps.
Yeah, and that was the grossest thing I saw. Saw a lot of ants. Yeah.
A lot of dead rats, I'm assuming.
No, not too many. None. Didn't see any.
This is a really uneventful Rent-A-Kill story.
Well, it's not like I'm Ash from Evil Dead, like going around. I felt like it was gonna go that direction. It did in my dreams. What was I gonna say? Okay, so this is, if people are wondering, this isn't a normal episode. We're not doing the list at the minute. We're talking about a TV show. We're talking about Stranger Things season 2. But before we get onto that, other horror guff from the
other horror guff. You asking me first? Do you want to go first?
You go first. Did you see anything?
Not a lot. I haven't watched much this week. I really need to commit to watching more horror, I think. Otherwise, this part of the show is going to be. I did see Justice League, which could have potentially been a horror thing. And, it was all right. I think I've already discussed that with you. So it's adequate. It does the job. It fills a hole. It is satisfying, but I felt hungry again, maybe 45 minutes later.
That's
so, it did...
Chips.
It's just like chips. I kept my expectations extremely low because I felt like I needed to. Defense mechanism.
Yeah.
And it's all right, I mean, it's not amazing, but it's not bad.
It's not
That's
bad.
as far as I'm gonna go. Yeah. Apart from that, I've been reading The Troop, which you lent me, Nick Cutter. That's right. Isn't it?
Yeah.
Dan's
just finished reading that as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So far, I mean, it gets going really quickly, and it is pretty gruesome already. Yeah. And I'm eager to continue reading. It's definitely a page turner.
It is, yeah, dude. Have you got to them? I don't want to spoil it. Monkey? You seen a monkey yet? Okay, that bit. You got that to look forward to. Okay, so well, I watched a few things. I watched The Ruins, which is I read the book recently. I really, really like the book, and then this is the sort of movie based on it. So it's about 4 backpackers in Cuba. They've been, holidaying up, and they decide to go to these ruins for a bit of an adventure. And then they get there, they step onto these ruins, and then all the locals with these guns, machine guns and stuff, and bow and arrows, just won't let them get off, and they don't know why until they realise that the ruins that they're standing on, it's like one of those Mayan pyramid things. It's covered in these vines that just slowly eat away at your skin and stuff, and they're kind of quarantining them onto there. But it's so horrific. The book was one of the most horrific books I've ever read. Not in the sense of it wasn't particularly scary. It had some scary moments. It wasn't scary. It was just, those stories that are more like survival, like what's the word I'm looking for? Like they've got to make it. They've got to last as long as they can. So they're just trying to.
Yeah. So they're quite desperate. So
exactly. Yeah. It's bleak. It's completely bleak. And the film's okay. The film wasn't as good as it wasn't quite as bleak as the book. And as films normally do, they have to sort of brush over some of the character development. So it just felt a bit rushed in places. But it's still good.
I've definitely seen that, but a long time ago. It's probably 10 years old, isn't it?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, 2006-ish, I think. Also caught Wreck 2 after.
Oh yeah.
After episode with Johan early in the year. Kind of always fancied it, and it's okay. It's not as good as the first one, but maybe that's because. Go on.
It feels a bit like it's retreading old ground, doesn't it? A little bit, Wreck 2.
Yeah, well, it literally is. Like they're going.
It literally is.
They go around the same ground. Yeah. I thought it was okay. It got a bit video gamey at times. You see like Doom, the film Doom.
Yeah,
it felt like
the
that.
First person scene.
Yeah. There's some creepy.
That
was
like one of the best bits of Doom, though, wasn't it? The first person bit.
That was when it went sort of crazy.
I mean, it was ridiculous, but it kind of made you think. It made you think.
Made you think of yeah. There was a really creepy bit when they find out towards the end, or in the place where the creepy woman is, that if you turn the lights off and go to night vision, you see another part of the room that's not there normally. So they go to night vision, and there's like a well, and the guy's looking into it, and then he gets pulled in, and they go to normal. The light comes on, and then like the well's not even there anymore. That was kind of cool. It's kind of creepy. And
that's kind of cool. Makes no sense.
It makes no sense at all. The last thing I saw was Ace Ventura: Pet Detective.
Oh,
when was the last time you watched it?
Oh God. See, I'm not one to return to that film very often. It's kind of stuck in my childhood. I don't think I've seen it since I was pretty young.
Yeah, I forgot how funny it was. Like, obviously not horror at all, but like it's just so the character, like Jim Carrey was like a national treasure.
Oh yeah,
I don't know. What
there's a new Netflix documentary in there about him in Andy Kaufman, Man on the Moon, which looks pretty interesting. I'll probably give that a little dabble this week.
I tried to get Catch to watch Airplane after, but she lasted about 10 minutes, and I was like, I can't do this.
No, thank you.
Yeah. And that's about it. So, yeah, man, should we talk about Stranger Things?
Talk about the strangest things.
Have you got like a summary or something?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, we got little summaries. Okay, so Stranger Things. What is it? What the hell is it? So it's an American science fiction horror web television series created, written, and directed by the Duffer Brothers, as well as co-executive produced by Shawn, Levy, and Dan Cohen. The first season, released in July 2006, stars Winona Ryder, David Harbour, Finn Wolfhard, Millie Bobby Brown, Gaten Matarazzo, how are you saying his name? Caleb McLaughlin, Noah Schnapp. For the second season, Sadie Sink, Dacre Montgomery, Shawn, Astin, Paul Reiser are added to the cast. Probably don't need to read everybody's name out, but you know.
So I'll do it later as well.
What a devil not. Okay, so basically the show is set in the fictional town of Hawkins, Indiana in the 1980s. The first season focuses on the investigation into the disappearance of a young boy, Will Byers, amid supernatural events occurring around the town, including the appearance of a girl with psychokinetic abilities who helps the missing boy's friends in their own search. Yeah, so that's basically a brief. Do we need to? Do you reckon we need to cut a brief recap of what happens in season 1?
Okay, yeah. So let me try and remember it because I haven't watched it since it aired last year. It's weird that they call it a web television show on that, by the way. Why not just a television show? It's weird.
That was weird. Yeah, I know. It's on the web, isn't it? It's on the World Wide Web. You've got to get on the line to watch it.
On the line.
Are you on the line? So yeah, basically, first season, Will gets abducted by some creature, gets taken into the Upside Down, which is like this weird parallel dimension where everything's kind of falling apart. A bit like Silent Hill, isn't it? Where everything's sort of like destroyed and sort of the dark side of the town. And there are ways to connect with each other through those two dimensions. So his mother, Joyce, played by Winona Ryder, and the town's police chief, Jim Hopper, they search for Will while obviously his friends search for him as well. And then there's a lot of stuff with this sort of like dark, evil, scientific,
the government
big
lab
bad
sort of,
government lab, and there's a girl called Eleven who escapes, and she's got like psychokinetic abilities, and she assists the friends sort of trying to help find Will. Yeah. And then at the end of the first series, when Will was eventually found, we don't think we need to go into how he was found. We see that he's still influenced by certain entities from the Upside Down. He sort of sees something in the mirror, coughs his guts up. So then, obviously, that's pretty much where season 2 picks off, which is a year after season 1.
That's well recapped, by the way. Good job there. So this show kind of came out of nowhere. So the first season 1 was amazing because I wasn't expecting it. Like it was just, and when you watched it, it was. I don't think I've ever seen anything that kind of captured the 80s kids adventure, Goonies, but kind of dark. I'm going to say Gremlin sort of vibe as well as it did. So it kind of came out of left field, and it was so good. No one was expecting it.
It's like the perfect homage to pop culture of that decade. Really, like everything just feels Spielberg, John Carpenter, Stephen King. It just feels like that. It feels like they've managed to bottle that essence of nostalgia.
They have just selling it by the shit ton now. And they're
selling it by the shit ton. Yeah. When I first saw the trailer for it, I was like, that looks amazing.
See, I wasn't that kid. I was like, I'm not. I don't know. Maybe I'd give it a go. Thought it
looked a little bit like Super 8 initially.
Yeah, that's what I had in my head. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's obviously like the updated Spielberg-esque science fiction adventure type thing, where you could. It's got that amount of nostalgia in it, but obviously it is brand spanking new. But then now it's like a cultural phenomenon. So season 1 came and went, and I remember when I started watching it, you never know when these things are going to really blow up. But yeah, it's a cultural phenomenon now, which in a way, I mean, how do you feel about that when it comes around to a second series of that? Because there's so much expectation when it comes to something like this now.
So I wasn't that. I mean, I felt like it'd been a year since season 1 came out, and I know a lot of people were like really buzzing for season 2, and I just wasn't that bothered. Like I don't know what it was. I kind of felt like season 1 was great. Season 2 won't be as good. Like it'll be too much of the same thing, and I won't be that bothered about it. So I'll watch it, but I won't be that arsed. But then again, so my expectations went low again, and then I was like blown away again. So what I would say though, so the nostalgia thing, because a lot of people are saying, and they're using the same criticism against Ready Player One, is that it's kind of just playing like if they just reference 80s things, culture, people will respond to it, and that's kind of all they're doing. What do you think of that, like,
Yeah.
as a criticism? Because I don't really think it holds too much weight.
No, I don't think it holds too much weight. It feels like its own thing. It's got its own identity. Even though, yes, it does reference a lot of stuff, and there's a lot of callbacks to things, they're not proper in your face. You know what I mean? They're not like, hey, remember this thing from the 80s? It's a bit like these characters are in situations and doing things, and it does feel like it's got its own identity. It doesn't necessarily feel fresh and new, but it does feel like it's got...
It felt
scary. There's loads of stuff that happens.
It felt scarier as well than what I think those older shows, those older influences did. Like the Demogorgon was genuinely scary. In fact, like, I think was it Barb, when Barb gets killed, and it had that whole sort of Jaws vibe thing going on. Yeah, it definitely took me by surprise, and it had its own identity, and the characters were so good.
I think exactly. I think in terms of characters, the style, like the cinematography, which I think is better probably in this series.
Well, yeah. So did they do that? That's not what I want to ask you. So do you think they did that on purpose? Because the cinematography in this one is updated. It's like a better like a more expensive camera. Like, I don't know what it is. I feel like they've maybe tried more
of a budget now.
Well, yeah, but I think that's on purpose. So like when you used to get like Gremlins 2, the first one was always kind of low budget and like a little bit crappy, and then when that did well, the second one was like bigger, better. Everything seems slightly like, and I think that might be what they were going for. Yeah.
Potentially, yeah, because now it's like the threat. Like it's a very classic sort of like horror science fiction thing from like the 80s and 90s, where the sequel, the threat is just like multiplied.
So you got Alien
and Aliens, yeah.
Gremlins, there's a lot of Gremlins, but Gremlins 2 there's a shitload. I feel like season 1 should have been called Stranger Thing, and then this one should have been called Stranger Things.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean the music is great.
This season especially.
Yeah, I think. This is what I'm going to say without going into massive detail. I think the first season for me felt far more superior in terms of story. I think the arc of everybody and everything that kind of happened felt like it finished nicely. This one, I feel like the story doesn't have that much direction half the time. It feels a little bit like, I mean, the characters are so good and their relationships are so good within each other. Everybody gets so much to do but I just felt like the story needed a bit more dynamic. It didn't feel to me like it was going anywhere new. I mean, there were more creatures, but I felt like 11 was kind of treated almost in the same way, especially up to the finale.
Yeah.
What she had to do in the finale of the first series, based on what she had to do in the finale of the second series, was essentially the same.
Well, we talked about it before. Like, it's
on a bigger scale.
It's the same formula, like the same up and down. So. Will, who is essentially taken again, is like, but this time he's sort of infected and he's mentally not there. 11 disappears and then reappears at the end to save the day. And the rest of the time, the other guys are. I feel like this one has just got more. They've tried to spread things out a little bit more. So you've got Nancy and Will's brother. They go on their own little side quest. You've got like the new human bad guy who kind of doesn't really do that much in the end.
No, I mean his involvement is kind of pointless, really. I mean, he does get a moment, obviously, where we do see him sort of as a big threat, but his involvement in the story as a whole doesn't really have any bearing on anything, does it? Yeah. Really.
And then you've got.
But I feel like.
Go on. Sorry.
I just think occasionally the plot feels a bit aimless.
Yeah.
Feels a little bit like it's retreading old ground. Obviously there's a particular episode where we try and build the world, and which almost feels a little bit cheap because it feels a bit like here are some more characters. Here's some characters who are similar to 11, or one character who's similar to 11.
Yeah.
Feels like it's trying to build a world. It doesn't feel genuine. It feels almost like, oh, we're going to prep you for a spin-off now because here's something else. And the fact that there was someone else who had powers like 11, it just felt a bit X-Men to me.
But like cheapo X-Men, Mutant X, or whatever that TV show is called.
Or like season 2 of Heroes or something, where it was just
it was Hero. That's the thing. It stunk of Heroes. Oh, fuck. What the fuck is that smell?
Like, by the time we got to this episode, it derailed everything to such a degree. Like I mean, I'm sure for a lot of people it was a good sort of world building thing, but it derailed everything to such a degree for me that I almost felt like I couldn't get back on board with it. I think I let after seeing.
I know what you mean. Especially because episode 6 ended with such a high, a pulse beating moment. Yeah.
I mean, I think 11. Obviously, Millie Bobby Brown is great. 11's character is great, but I almost felt like you know when you're watching a certain TV show and there's a few characters and you're just like, just leave these characters alone and go back to the people I want to be spending time with. And for me, it just felt like I wanted like the kids. I just felt like I was more interested in their story. Noah Schnapp, in particular, as Will Byers. I thought he was amazing. And I kind of like, I don't want to sound like a miserable old cretin. Miserable old bastard. But yeah. I know 11 is like a one-trick pony, kind of, in terms of character, because she's trying to like relearn what it is to be a little girl, really, isn't she? But I just felt a bit bored of her.
Yeah.
Like, every time there was a nosebleed, I got annoyed.
Oh, gee. Why Pitt? Yeah.
Why Pitt?
I know why they did what they did in episode 7, because if she didn't have that episode in any sort of part of it, if they went straight from episode 6 to 8 and then 9, and then she would just turn up towards the end to save the day, it would feel so much like Deus Ex Machina. You'd feel exactly. The hands of the. But go on.
It still kind of did feel like that for me.
Yeah, I don't know how they could have fixed it then, because I mean they have to have maybe 11 just should have just not been in this season, and they sort of figured a way around.
I did think that, but that would have been nuts, really, wouldn't it?
It's like Hellraiser without Pinhead. It's like Nightmare on Elm Street without Freddy.
Yeah, I just felt like by the time it got to the finale, she felt like a young Jean Grey to me. A young Jean Grey from the X-Men movies, who is insufferable. She is insufferable, Jean Grey. Yeah. That's my nutting. And there was even a moment where she kind of like looked a bit like Jean Grey does at the end of like X-Men: The Last Stand, where her face goes all a bit like dark and her eyes go a bit dark and she's like floating about. And it just felt a bit like. Yeah. Whereas before, I kind of felt like, come on, 11, beat the Demogorgon's ass. This time, I just felt like, oh. Yeah. Because it just doesn't. There's no real threat, because you're just like, whatever happens to anyone, 11's going to show up and save the day. By doing what exactly? Closing the gate, just
thinking really hard about it.
Just thinking really hard.
She uses 2 hands rather than 1. It's more effort involved in that. I think she even gets a double nosebleed. It comes down both sides.
Oh yeah, she does. That was it. That was the moment I was like, that's a lot of nosebleed. I know. There was a lot done for her backstory, but I don't feel like it satisfied me as much as I expected it to. As soon as I started realizing we're going to get some 11 backstory, I was hyped for that. And as soon as we started actually getting the 11 backstory, I started feeling like, well, I don't know if I really care.
Yeah, so there's an episode where, I think it's episode 3, so we find out that at the end of season 1, we find that she sort of disappears. Is she dead? Probably not. She's in the Upside Down or wherever. And then the start of this season, we find out she's living with Jim Hooper in a cabin, Chief Jim Hooper. And is it Jim Hooper? Jim Hopper? Hopper. Jim Hopper, okay. Chopper. And then we have a flashback to sort of bring us up to the point where, so she killed the thingy-majobby, went to Mike's house, but Mike had loads of government agents around who were making him sign non-disclosure agreements or something. And then she sort of walks around the woods, kills some critters, cooks them and eats them, and then finds Chopper's house.
Chopper. Right? She finds Chopper's house. What? Eric Banner. Yeah. Just turns up. So obviously we understand. This is in the first episode, isn't it? Isn't the first episode?
It's the 3rd episode when we do the flashback.
The 3rd episode when we get this. Yeah. Okay, so maybe if we just go and like cover everything from the start, not in massive detail.
Okay.
But so episode 1, chapter 1 is Mad Max, isn't it? Yeah. And then we get like this initial thing where you see Callie and her gang, and she uses her psychic powers to escape the police. So they do like a robbery.
That's kind of really random as well, because that for that one intro bit where we got this other character to take the intro of season 2 and then only really be in episode 8 in episode 7.
Yeah.
Kind of, I don't know. It's such a weird outfield.
Yeah, and everyone. I mean, I know we got more of these in episode 7, but I think everyone in this gang annoyed me for a different reason.
Okay, so we got The bodybuilder, he wasn't too bad. The guy who's been in porn.
To be fair, he was all right. He was all right. I knew you recognised him from somewhere.
Yeah. I knew you recognised him. Veins. And got girl with mohawk. She's kind of not mohawk, afro type thing. She wasn't really anything, I don't think. She just said a couple of lines.
Yeah, there was a girl who looked like Cyndi Lauper.
Yeah.
Basically, let's not give these two guys too much attention. They're all a bit crap. It was almost like here's a gang of like oddballs that are supposed to be you're supposed to feel some sort of connection to.
Yeah.
They're going around doing robberies and killing people because they're oddballs and they're oddballs together. The girl who played Callie.
Yeah.
I didn't believe it.
Well, weirdly, that episode 7, I think, was the only one. The person who directed that episode only directed that episode, and all the other episodes are directed by either the Duffer Brothers or Andrew Stanton, which is quite exciting to see. He's the guy who directed Up, Wall-E, and all these like Pixar films. Okay. Yeah. So maybe that director just kind of, I'm afraid to say, kind of shit the bed.
You shit the bed.
Yeah.
I just didn't believe it. Like Callie, every time she was saying stuff that was supposed to have emotional weight to it, that 11 was supposed to be listening to, I kind of just thought, who are you?
Who are you? Yeah, I know what you mean. And
who are you?
Imagine if you were those actors and someone asked like, oh, have you been in anything special? Would you admit to being the shit part of like the greatest like TV show? Like,
yeah.
We were the part that you didn't like in that.
So that's the thing. Like,
yeah,
it's very difficult.
Poor guys. So episode 1. So well,
yeah,
I don't know. Yeah, so we open with go on.
Reintroduced to everybody, all the kids.
Yeah.
Will's kind of like trying to get back to normal. So it's a year later.
It's got a PTSD type situation going on. Yeah.
Winona Ryder's character has got a new bit of filth knocking about. Who is Samwise?
Yeah, Bob. What do you think about Bob? Like, so these new characters, we've got 3 in this season. We've got Bob, who's played by Sean Astin, Max, who's played by some girl, and then I don't know his name. The other guy is played by some guy. Billy. He's played by the Red Ranger from one of the Power Rangers.
He's played by all the Red Rangers.
Yeah,
together, amalgamated. I thought they were good. I mean, I was untrustworthy of all of them. I was like, what are these agendas going around here?
Yeah.
Bob, Sean Astin was great there.
I thought, when we first started, I thought, oh, Sean Astin, I've got a feeling he might be a government agent or something.
I thought that.
Yeah.
He was planted.
Yeah. But he's like, he's kind of grown up in the neighborhood. He works like a video store. It's weird because I kind of feel like my day job is I work in sort of IT. I kind of feel like he does like the same version of what I do, but back in the day. So he has like 2-3 cables.
So he automatically had a connection to it.
Yeah. But he was really good. I just kind of really liked his character in the end. I mean, we'll come to more of it. But
nice man.
Yeah. So Will has some like episodes where he sees. This is the episode where we kind of introduced the big thing we saw in the trailer. It's like a big. I don't know how to describe it. It's like a big spidery bug. Tentacle
shadow beast.
Looked very Lovecraftian to me in some of the trailers.
So they're at the arcade and obviously just chilling out at the arcade. Again, loads of like classic games you get to see. Someone's got a high score on what's his name? Dustin's favorite game, and it's called Mad Max. Everyone's like, who the hell's this then? Who's the hell's this?
What was the game again? Which game were they playing?
I can't remember.
Yeah, maybe. The guy
some shit.
The guy, look at it's only 8-bit. There's one guy, the guy who played like the guy who worked at the arcade, looked like he was born to play that role. Yeah, like he looked like what you expected that kind of guy to look like. So much. Yeah.
So Will has a little bit of an episode where he sees the Upside Down again, and he sort of wanders outside the arcade, sees the big shadowy spider tentacle monster in the sky.
Yeah.
And then what does he do? Does he faint? Does he pass out? Oh yeah. Oh no, I think Mike snaps him out of it.
Yeah. Mike's kind of there to sort of look after him, I think. And whilst he's doing that, what's the other kids? Dustin and what's the
Lucas?
Yeah. They're kind of on this like throughout this season we have like a bit of love triangle thing. So they're falling in, trying to get with this girl who's the Max.
She is the Mad Max,
Max.
And they sort of like they're stalking her a little bit. Well, not stalking her, just watching her from afar.
Yeah,
that's fine. And then we obviously reintroduced Nancy and Steve, who this was a bit of a weird story line bit where Barb's parents weren't aware, like obviously how she died, and they feel like they can't tell anyone because government officials have said if you tell anyone, we'll end you.
Duff you up. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, we've got Chief Chopper, the Chopper Man. He's dealing with the everyday again, and he's someone's poisoned some pumpkins, and he goes out to look at them, and it's all a bit off there. So yeah, it feels like there's lots of little like plot points being sort of lots of story seeds being sowed. But I mean, I heard one of the criticisms with this season is that it was slow, but I thought it was great. I thought like it felt like, I don't know, it just felt like this is the first 20 minutes of an 80s sequel to me. It felt like really good. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think there's nothing wrong with the pacing of it. I mean, for me, it was just the content of where these sort of story threads ended up, and how they sort of connected. But as I said, everyone's so good that it almost just feels. It
was nice to be back with those characters. There's such a charm to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly, and no one sort of gets left behind. Like in a big ensemble cast like this, it can feel difficult, and certain characters can sort of get left behind or left in the background.
I felt like Mike got a bit left behind in this one.
Maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. Yeah.
But he was like one of my favourite guys in the last one. For this one, he just kind of felt like he was always like having a mardy about something. So he's moaning about stuff.
He was pretty moany in this one as well. Yeah. So the end of this episode, Dustin hears a noise like in like the trash can outside his house. Will has another sort of vision, and then at the end we see Hopper go home to like a cabin in the woods where obviously you find out that Eleven's been staying there.
Yeah.
Assuming for like a whole year, and he's keeping her sort of away from the government officials, keeping her hidden because they obviously must think she's dead. Keeping her safe, and obviously her hair's grown, isn't it? Her hair's grown back.
Feeding her waffles, teaching her English. Being like a surrogate sort of dad sort of thing. But he's also very protective. I think in the last season we find his kid died, and I think Eleven's kind of taking that role for now. And then episode 2 is called Trick or Treat Freak. So in the trailers this season, we had a lot of them dressed up in the Ghostbusters uniform, and this is like the episode where they go out and do it. So, maybe it's this episode. Just really thinking here. Maybe it's this episode where we have the flashback with. Yeah.
So here's where all the plot stuff to do with 11, where she's been, what she's been doing, and how she came to be living with Hopper is all sort of cleared up in the first 10 minutes or so. And then we cut back to present day. Well, the 80s. We cut back to the current present in this story, where Eleven's obviously asking to go trick or treating. She loves a bit of trick or treating, obviously. How does she even know what it is?
And here's where we lay sow the seed for Steve Harrington's like rise to fan favorite. So like, if you get a bit of unrequited love, people are already going to be like sympathizing with you. But so him and Nancy, they're at a party. He's a very different guy to what he used to be. He seems like a lot calmer, kind of like a happy guy. And they get drunk, and then Nancy says she doesn't love him, and then
she says bullshit many times, and I just think, bullshit.
Yeah, bullshit,
it is all
Steve.
Bullshit.
This is in the 80s. And
then Jonathan, the little square, turns up and takes her home and puts her in bed. Doesn't he take her shoes off or something? I don't know.
Yeah. Did he take his shoes off? That's weird.
Possibly.
Then again,
maybe he does.
Nothing worse than getting your shoes on the bed.
Exactly.
Gross.
Nothing worse.
Nothing worse.
So then
Upside
the
down,
lads go trick or treating next. The lads on tour dressed as the Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
I like the little back and forth they all had when they were trying to work out who should be Winston.
Yeah. You know what? I always liked Winston growing up. I don't understand like the whole thing, but like
I know Lucas Slate.
Lucas, I mean, no offense, Lucas, but you kind of look like Winston.
Come on, he's getting typecast there as Winston. He don't want to be Winston, so he says Winston. He joins up late. He's not even a scientist. I mean, he's got some good points there.
He drives the car. He drives a cool car around, doesn't he? And
I mean,
he becomes more of a main character in Ghostbusters too.
I wonder how Lucas would have felt if Mike turned up and was just like, "Yeah, I'm Winston."
In blackface. Yeah.
Oh God, I wasn't gonna say that, but
yeah, they couldn't do that. They can't get over that in today's.
You don't have to
back in the 80s, they would have been fine, I guess. But
in the 80s,
it's a very different time.
There we go. Yeah, so they go trick or treating. Will has another bloody vision. He's always having bloody visions, and he just chill out, mate. So he's in the upside down. He sees the sort of spidery thing in the sky and is pretty terrified. Runs and hides.
Yeah.
And then, what happens next?
Well, I think it sort of ends. Mike tries to talk to 11 in his bedroom. There's a little hut thing where he goes, and then I think
so. He's been radioing her.
Yeah.
For like days and days, and she's been hearing it.
Yeah, but not able to answer because Hopper doesn't want her to talk to him or something. And then at the end, it's sort of so Dustin finds the creature in his trash can, and then we get the next episode 3, the Poliwag. Is that named after the Pokemon?
I don't know. Is there a Poliwag Pokemon?
Well, I think there's a Poliwhirl. I'm not too sure if it evolves into a Poliwag.
It sounds delicious, a Poliwhirl. What are you eating there? Just a lovely little treat, a Poliwhirl. It's bloody delicious.
This episode's got so Dustin is basically he's got this little creature he keeps in his lizard tank or whatever it is, and it reminds me. There's a film that I've not seen in absolutely years. But I think it's called The Gate 2. Have you ever seen I can't remember. I don't think I've ever seen the first one. But The Gate 2, they get this little pet troll thing, and they feed it like chocolate and stuff, and it lives in like I'm sure that's what they were doing with this because one of the episodes is called The Gate, and they feed this little troll thing, and I'm sure it bites. It becomes like a nasty little thing, and it bites one of them.
This reminded me a little bit of like either like E.T. where you're like keeping a creature hidden, or like Flight of the Navigator, where I believe I believe there's like a tiny little creature thing that maybe gets hidden and gets fed.
There is, in the they have like loads of little creatures in the little cupboards.
Yeah, I mean there are parts of this that reminded me of Flight of the Navigator as well, just like that. It's just a bit creepy.
Yeah,
like there's a bit in Flight of the Navigator that used to terrify me, which was he goes off in the ship, and then when he comes back, someone else is living in his house because he's been gone for years, and that used to scare me. That used to stay in my head for all the time. I'd go out playing football all day, come back, and in the back of my head I'd be thinking, what if someone else was living in my house?
Oh god! Did you ever tell me about the time was at Centre Parks? Have you been to Centre Parks?
No.
It's like a holiday town in the woods, and there's like lots of little cabins. The way it's set out, you've got like cabins in a circle and like a little pond thing, and then they'll kind of repeat that thing over and over again. So I was out playing in one of the little garden bits, went for a little walk, got a bit lost, and then ended up in another one of these identical places. Went back to where I thought my mum and dad would be, and it was empty. Like there was nothing inside. God. Like people hadn't been in there for like months. It was like dusty and cobwebby inside. Maybe it's out of season or something. But I remember like that. I felt like I just stepped into another dimension. Like it was that was horrific.
What did you do?
I think I just I think I just ran around and cried, and then eventually someone found me, and I think I was like 4 or something. I was really young.
4.
But I mean, crying. Never remember crying. I mean, yeah, it was the other week. Anyway, so what happens in this? So they've got the little creature. Dustin takes it to school in the Ghostbusters thing.
Yep. Which is pretty good. He got a Ghostbusters trap made, which is pretty serious. I mean, it works and everything.
Yeah. He gets out, I think. He gets out of the thingy and runs away. Yeah,
is this one? Yeah. So this one is there's sort of like quite a few things going on when he takes there's called D'Artagnan. D'Artagnan. So yeah, a lot more stuff with Will. Bob and Will have a little bit of so Bob obviously is a potential father figure for Will. They sort of have a little bit of a connection where Bob sort of tells him a childhood nightmare about a clown. So there's a little bit of a throwback Pennywise there. Encouraging him to sort of stand up to his fears. Then we get to Nancy and Jonathan help her basically want to tell Barb's parents the truth.
Yeah, I think they make a sort of plan, don't they? How they're going to go about doing it.
Yeah, Hopper sort of manages to track down the pumpkin nonsense. All the pumpkins being rotten is actually linked back to the lab, which is obviously where 11 was originally, where the source of the Upside Down is, where obviously the Demogorgon came from.
It's where, so in season 1, 11 made that crack in the sort of realities, right?
Yeah.
I think when she first touched the Demogorgon or something like that. I mean, and now it's sort of like growing, and it like they have to like have regular burns because it's like vine grows out.
So now it's growing up into a big horrible pussy vagina, and it's
Crusty.
Just and obviously the
stringy.
No need. So yeah, obviously the government officials are trying to keep it at bay.
Yeah.
Because I'm assuming there's word that eventually this dimension, the Upside Down, is going to take over.
Yeah.
Our dimension somehow, some way. So yeah.
And at the same time, Will recognizes the sound that D'Artagnan makes as being a sound that he hears in the Upside Down.
Yeah, I think at this point it was pretty obvious. I mean, even as soon as Dustin found this, it was obvious that it was a Demogorgon or some sort. I thought it may have been the giant creature.
Yeah.
Eventually.
Yeah.
I thought it could have been that, but no. And then so basically it just keeps growing, keeps shedding its skin, keeps growing and growing. And then did they discover?
I think Dustin finds it, puts it in his hat, and then he says it's gone or something. He can't find it, but he has actually got it. And
at the end of this episode, Will has another vision of the Upside Down where almost like the big creature sort of goes into him. Like it turns into this big sort of like tornado of pain and goes straight down his throat. Delicious.
And then it sort of ends with him going,
yeah.
Yeah, he should have made that noise, yeah.
Yeah. So chapter 4 is Will the
and then
Will
it ends because the black and he goes. Poor Will, it's gassy.
Poor Will.
Yeah, chapter 4, Will the Wise. Oh God, what the hell happened in this one? I can't remember this one.
So basically, they get Will's at home, and he's acting a bit strange. His temperature's really low. He refuses a warm bath because she asks him, "I'm going to run me your bath and we'll warm you up." And he's like, he likes it cold.
No one likes a cold bath. That alarm bells are ringing.
Yeah.
This freak.
11 returns to the cabin because in the previous episode she'd gone to the school where she'd like seen Mike and Max sort of having a bit of a back and forth, and she thought they were flirting. She gets ever so jealous. 11. I think, God's sake, grow up.
Grow up.
So that's just when she and Hopper have a bit of a fight. Hopper grounds her.
Yeah.
And then
there's the whole map sequencing bit here where
so Will is like drawing. He just starts scribbling on pieces of paper with crayons, and he makes like this huge map that gets sort of plastered all across the whole house, really, pretty much, isn't it?
This is like the equivalent. So in season 1 you have like the lights, the Christmas fairy lights, and you have like the letters. This is like the equivalent of that. So they fill the house with this sort of map of, it looks like streams and rivers and stuff.
Yeah, I just thought, how would you be able to put that together in a way that was...
you kind of, those kind of things are like, you get like the little racetrack things as kids, and then you can piece them however the hell you want. Like, there would be no way to tell that like you were doing the right one.
It wouldn't really make sense, would it?
Yeah. But somehow they work it out. I don't know.
Yeah. So after the map stuff, Nancy and Jonathan are caught by these lab agents. So they're thinking about telling Barb's mum and dad how she died and all about the Upside Down, but the agents sort of take them back to the lab and sort of show them the big crusty vagina, which is
the crack. Yeah.
The Kraken.
And then I can't remember this guy's name, but he's like the head of the government operation at the minute in this season.
It's Burke from Alien, isn't it? Aliens.
He's quite a nice guy. Like, he is the opposite of what the guy in the last season was like.
Yeah, he's the opposite from Matthew Modine.
Cool guy. Yeah.
Yeah. So we start to see the introduction of Billy, who is Max's older brother, who's like a bit of a
bully.
Bit of a bully, but he's a bit of a
racist
absolute.
As well. Yeah. He doesn't outright say it, but
no, he's a bit racist. Have you noticed a lot of the time bad guys in 80s throwback things like It and this and probably other things are always fans of like Metallica and Slayer. They listen to metal. And it's almost like going, well, if anyone listened to metal back in those days, obviously they're evil.
What was the guy who in Stand By Me who played this role?
Kiefer Sutherland.
Keith Sutherland, yeah, I think Keith Sutherland personified what this character is.
Yeah,
I feel like it'd been like it's an archetype and it's used all the time.
Yeah, so it's like a bully who is also bullied by his dad, so he takes it out on everybody else. Yeah. But he always goes too far and is willing to like murder people.
Like you're like never kind of like sure if you won't just go that extra edge and knife you or something. Like
so obviously
in it they went like completely all the way with it, but
yeah. So then at the end of this episode we start to see 11 contacting like someone who she thinks is going to be her mum.
Yeah.
A bit more of her backstory, Jane. And then Dustin discovers that Dart again is getting even bigger and has eaten his cat.
See, I thought this was like too much. I mean, like well, I can understand it, but I don't think they needed to have it like eating the cat. I just felt so sorry for like his mum and like
yeah, I know what you mean.
And like
she had a new cat at some point, didn't she? Pretty much immediately.
But I kind of appreciate it did make me kind of scared of Dart and like what Dart was going to be capable of growing into. But at the same time, later on they try and get us to sympathise with Dart, and I was like, "Fuck that!" Like,
yeah,
he is not a.
No, I didn't get that.
Yeah,
I didn't get that. When they try to get us to sympathise with Dart, previously they'd explained that all of these smaller Demogorgons, which become like the threat. So we obviously had the big Demogorgon in the first one. Now we've got like dog Demogorgons, Demodogs.
Yeah.
Understand that they're like a hive mind controlled by that big sort of shadow creature.
Yeah.
Why does Dart recognize Dustin?
Well, I feel like they might have some like base consciousness, and then it's just sort of overridden by, in the same way that Will's at will, but he gets overridden by the storm kind of stuff. Yeah.
Okay. So pretty much at the end of this episode, Hopper follows Will's map, which he drew. Follows it to a field where all the pumpkins were and finds a tunnel corrupted by the Upside Down and goes down into it. Obviously, why wouldn't you?
Yeah. And like without like a gas mask or anything, just starts sniffing the flowers. This is lovely. Starts singing a song and skipping through. And then is it here where he...
Yeah, so it's the next episode. So chapter 5 is Dig Dug.
Yeah, right, yeah.
And all these vines sort of trap Hopper in the infected tunnels, and he kind of just lies down and takes it.
Yeah. Ah! Oh, well, I'm tired anyway.
So Will soon realizes that Hopper's in danger.
Yeah, the vines start massaging him into like a false sense of security. It's fine, like a massage chair, just giving him
You'll be all right.
Vibrations in the lower back. Oh, well, okay. Nice. Chopper gets it bad, he needs a little relaxation every now and again. Okay, so what happens? So
Lucas tells Max the truth about Will's disappearance, but she doesn't believe him. She's like, "That's a great story, man. Tell me about it next time." Literally just absolutely mugs him right off.
Yeah.
And
there's the other side story here, which I wasn't that bothered about, but there's basically a reporter sort of guy who's trying to out the government. He's like a conspiracy theory, and then Jonathan and Nancy take the tape that they recorded from the previous episode to him, and they say this is proof. And they have a whole thing with him saying like, "Oh, this vodka's too strong. I need to water it down." It's like a whole thing. It was a nice scene in itself, I guess, but I just wasn't that bothered about it, to be honest.
Yeah, I wasn't too bothered about this. This was part of it where I didn't really understand. And then they agree at this point to go and take down the lab. Didn't they agree? Did they agree at this point? Or was that a little bit later on?
Yeah, they agreed to I think they say they're going to say that the government has poisoned the water or something like that, and that's why Bob died, and they covered up her death that way and that kind of thing.
Bit complicated.
So it'll essentially go against that government agency, whatever they're called. I don't think we've got a name for them. And at the same time, get a bit of justice for Bob, maybe to get some money for the parents and that kind of thing, bit of dollar.
Yeah.
And then Jonathan and Nancy sleep one off. They get it together.
Sleep
and
sleep one off.
Yeah. And then that's all happening there. So I mean, they're like together basically now. So poor Steve, who I think comes back into it later on. But at this point, Steve's like write-off character. Like, I just
but he does get a different role where he is like with the kids.
Yeah.
And so Dustin recruits Steve to help him fight the Dart, who's getting bigger and bigger, trapped in the cellar. They go after him, but he's like dug a hole through.
Yeah, through the floor.
So he's gone.
And then I think the rest is that. So this is the episode where they go out to Steve Harrington and Dustin are walking along like the train tracks.
Yeah.
Towards try and find the demi dog, and they're like leaving trails of meat and stuff. They're like on a mission, and this is the point where like I think everyone saw this episode and were like, oh wow, this is actually kind of a really cool little pairing. Steve starts giving Dustin like advice about like girls and stuff, and it's like a really like lovely sort of bit of a bromance sort of thing going on. Yeah. And then at the same time they bump into the other two, Max and
Lucas.
I always forget Lucas's name for some reason. And then they find a way to, we're going to call it the Barons. It's not the Barons, but it's like the equivalent of the Barons.
Just a load of buses and shit.
Yeah. This is the bit, I found this maybe the most tense part of the series, because I literally thought Steve was going to die. Because I kind of, at that point, I thought like they've given him a little bit of a nice thing, but he's still expendable, so this is where he dies. So what they have,
I think we're discussing chapter 5 and chapter 6 in tandem at this point. I think.
Oh right, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well let's jump back a little bit then before we talk.
Well,
about
we'll just clear out what happened at the end of chapter 5, which was 11 basically hitchhikes to her mum's house, and this is when she starts sort of telepathically communicating with her, seeing that she was like crippled by forced shock therapy because she had 11, her daughter, taken away from her.
See, even as you're saying all this kind of extra side 11 story, I'm just like, I've written this stuff off. Like, I'm just not that bad about it. I want to get back. Like, it was kind of cool, I guess, but I don't know. It just wasn't doing it for me. Yeah.
And then at the end of same here, really. At the end of this episode, Bob figures out Hopper's location, and they go to the tunnels to rescue him. Scientists from Hawkins' lab turn up as well, and they all start burning all the vines and get Hopper out. Yeah. Then Will screams in agony that he's obviously connected to the Upside Down in this way, and he sort of has a bit of a fit.
Yeah.
Which I thought was amazing. Like when he's having a fit, I was generally like, oh my god, Jesus Christ, is he all right?
Yeah. Well, he's epileptic, the actor. They just shine some lights at him and method. That's not true. Anyway, chapter 6.
Evil.
The spy. So, at what point do we get the bit where Steve goes to the dogs? Is that later on in this episode, or?
That's in this episode.
Okay. Cool.
So Will is rushed to the lab, and he can't recognize Bob, Hopper, or Mike. Is that right? Is it Mike? I think Mike's there with them as well.
Yeah.
So he's like kind of like losing it a little bit. So we understand that he's been possessed by the sort of. I'm assuming it's a shadow monster.
Yeah.
And then this is where Hopper gets to see the lab basement, which is where the crusty vagina is.
Yeah.
Which is lovely.
Can you get to the point where Owens, the government guy, he's like the conscience for the for the government, because they could just burn all those vines and stuff, but he knows that it might kill Will, so he kind of wants to fight that side of it.
Yeah, because they have like a sort of meeting, don't they? And they sort of agree that that's probably the best thing to do. Yeah. So this is where we get to see the stuff with Steve and Dustin and all the other kids when they set up a trap for Dart at the junkyard.
Yeah.
Max kind of opens up to Lucas about Billy's anger, and then we kind of get a bit of backstory to these characters. So there's been a remarriage, and they've had to sort of move to Hawkins. And
I'm just remembering Lucas's scream. He does it a few times. I forgot about it. Yeah.
So this is where the bit where you said you thought Steve was going to die.
Well, yeah. So what happens? So the demi-dog Dart is like walking towards the bus where they're all hiding in, and Steve goes out to bash his brains in with his baseball bat. It's just baseball bat, and then all of a sudden there seems to be like loads of them, like a pack of like them all sort of gathering around him. And I was like, they killed the cat. I mean, all bets are off. I don't know now.
I kind of thought they were going to kill somebody at some point.
I did as well. Yeah, I suppose they do soon. But I just thought he was going to die, and So what happens? So he just gets back in the bus. And then they basically
just get back in the bus and they're sort of like trapped there. But then the demodogs do eventually leave.
Yeah.
Because Will basically is now pretty much being controlled by the shadow monster, but he says that he knows how to stop the shadow monster, and a team of soldiers are sent into the tunnels.
And then he's the hive mind, whatever they call it. They haven't already got a name for it yet, I don't think. Is making him say that so the soldiers get ambushed by the demi-dogs. Is that right?
That's right, yeah.
And they get slaughtered. What did that remind you of? It reminded me of a bit of Jurassic Park, a little bit. The new one, though. I'm trying to think that kind of scene where like the soldiers and like you're watching them through the monitors and they all drop like flies.
Well, when the soldiers are going up against the Indominus Rex or whatever, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm sure that sort of scene's been in a few things before.
Yeah, I mean, it felt like that. It felt like Aliens in a place where you can kind of see...
Yeah, that's the one I'm thinking of. Yeah, that's it.
You can kind of see the Demodogs coming in on like little trackers and stuff, and I mean, that was good.
Behind you! It's too late.
I mean, that's great, though. I love that.
So good. Yeah.
So we've already discussed Chapter 7, The Lost Sister, which is pretty much where Eleven's backstory...
It's a write-off. I think without this episode, this season would have been so much better. Like, they didn't need this episode. Actually, why they thought they needed it, but they didn't. I'm sorry to say.
No. So basically, she learns a lot about sort of her mum, what happened to her, that there's others like her with abilities. Obviously, this girl Callie who can create illusions. She kind of goes there, meets this gang, and it kind of gives her the ability to know that she's got to focus on something that's hurt her in the past.
Yeah.
Channel the anger, and she can kind of like control her abilities. Felt a bit cliche to me. We
forgot. Sorry, the end of episode 6, the demi-dogs go through the tunnels to the lab, so it ends on a cliffhanger with them climbing up towards.
Yeah, exactly. So cliffhanger where you want to watch the next
episode. It's
like
the most tensest part of the season, and then it just says, "Well, fuck you, we're gonna do something else for like 60 minutes."
Yeah. So we pretty much get 11 gets her little arc there. She returns to Hawkins knowing that now she can control her abilities. She's going to go back. She knows her friends are in trouble because obviously she knows everything, man.
Yeah.
And then Chapter 8, the Mind Flayer, is where we start to get sort of... This is where... So now I've kind of felt a little bit like the momentum had been lost for me, but I felt like it was clawing its way back.
Well, these last two episodes to me were I felt like it was like watching like one of the best films I've seen in a long time. Like, I don't know, it just felt like so tense and so like... I don't know what it was. Like, as I was watching this season... Like, I didn't go in with any sort of high expectations, and I wasn't planning on binging it. I was going to watch a few every now and again. But like the last half, apart from episode 7, which I knew wasn't enjoying at all.
Now we're back to directed and written by Duffer Brothers episodes.
Yeah.
So this is probably where it starts to feel strong. So obviously this episode kind of felt like a horror film. Felt like a horror film with one location, where obviously all of our heroes, as such, were sort of all trapped in this lab, where all the Demodogs were running riot, killing people and stuff. Yeah. And it was tense.
Yeah. So what we got? So we've basically got all of them. I think they sedate all of them apart from like Steve and that gang. There's like 2 separate gangs at the minute. So they sedate Will, so the Mind Flayer can't see them through Will's eyes, and they need to get out of this lab.
So that's what they decided to call the Shadow Monster. Now they call it the Mind Flayer because they'd like connect it to some game that they all play, some sort of role play game.
Dungeons and Dragons. Yeah, I think they come into that a little bit later on, but I think that's going to be like maybe the theme of every season. Like every big bad guy is going to sort of be a character from Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. So we get a bit where Bob sort of does the noble thing of going to reset the circuit breaker so they can escape. This bit was a bit like Jurassic Park when Ellie was being told over the radio how to go and flip the circuits.
Yeah.
Because it felt like that, because he was even looking at the ceiling, looking for the circuits, following them, and then he was being told what to do. Very Jurassic Park.
Super tense. Like this bit. So Bob basically like kind of saves the day. There's a bit where it's about they all kind of escape because Bob helps them do it, and there's a bit where Bob hides in a cupboard, and one of the Demodogs, like a Velociraptor, pretty much sort of walks past, and he opens, and the broom falls down, and he runs away.
Yeah.
And then it's like really tense. He sort of makes it out there, runs away just in time, closes the door behind him, and then he goes to Winona Ryder. And I said to Kat, like, because it slows down, I said to Kat, like, a second before, and I went, oh, okay, so this is where he dies. And then, like...
Because he just slowed down to almost a stop, and you were like, yeah, he's dead.
Like, what else is going to happen? I knew someone was going to die at some point, because they had to get that sort of emotional sort of punch. And and I just... As soon as Bob, like, slowed down, then I was like... That's it. you just signed your own death. Like,
That's it. You're done.
Yeah.
Then he gets like eaten by the demo dogs.
Yeah. Brutal.
Everybody
the way they just sort of like munch on you, like it's really horrific. And he gets some nice music. The music at that part I've been listening to a lot on the soundtrack. I think it's called Eulogy or something. And it's got like a weird moog sound to it. It's so good. And they all sort of get out, right?
So everybody, they all get out apart from Bob, bless his heart, rest in peace. And they all basically take Will back to his house, and they like disguise where they are by putting loads of stuff on the walls in the shed, and just try and sort of like interrogate him to try and find out. What are they trying to find out? how to kill the mind flayer?
Yeah, well, it's something about Morse code or something, right? Yeah.
So this is pretty intense. So they're obviously trying to interrogate him by trying to sort of bring him out of the shadow monster by telling him lots of stuff from his past and that. Wore a bit thin, I thought, after a while. I was like, how many more emotional moments has he had in his life that he's got to remember? Don't you remember this time when you saw a tiny little butterfly that landed upon your shoulder and you turned to it and gave it a little kiss? I do remember that, Mummy. Yes. Yeah. So he kind of taps out on his sort of leg to close the gate. So they work out the Morse code because Hopper loves a bit of Morse code.
They're about to get attacked by some demodog at the end. 11 arrives. Go on.
Yeah, I kind of thought when they were all ready to fight, so all the demodogs were coming outside the house, everyone was ready to fight. Hopper had a gun, Lucas had like what's it called? What am I thinking?
Yeah.
Is catapult.
Yeah.
And everyone's ready to fight. I would have liked them to fight the demodog for a little while, and then get overrun, and then 11 turns up. Because 11 turns up and saves the day. And I just think, well, there she is. Yeah, it's nice that you saved the day, 11, but give the other
new makeup, like a emo sort of the Cure.
Yeah, she's got like slick back.
Yeah. Yeah. But and then we sort of come to the final episode. I think that the plan is Hopper's going to take 11 to the lab, which is still covered in demodogs.
Yeah.
So what happens here? Completely confused. So
basically, and Jonathan, Nancy, and Joyce take Will to Hopper's cabin, where they work out that obviously because he said he liked it cold, they're going to overheat him to force the mind flayer out of him.
It's going to torture him.
Yeah, and then we get everyone else left behind, like Mark, Dustin, Lucas, and Max, who decide that they've got a plan of their own. They're going to draw the demodogs away from the gate by going to the tunnel where the pumpkin field was.
Yeah.
But then Billy, the older brother, turns up. There's a weird bit here before where Billy is looking for Max because obviously
he goes to find out where she is. The mum's house.
He goes to Mike's mum's house to try and find her, and there's a weird bit where it's almost like a porno, where he's kind of like flirting with her and asking where she is, and then
why they put that bit in.
Sexual tension was through the roof. I was like, hey.
Yeah.
So that was a bit weird. But then Billy turns up at Will's house and has a fight with Steve. Because there's a bit of tension between them anyway.
See, this is a bit... I think Steve should have won this fight.
Yeah, I think it should have been the other way around.
Because, what's his name? Is it Mike? He sort of gets a bit... the Red Ranger. He gets a bit...
Billy,
Billy, he gets like a plate and sort of smashes it over Thingy's face. And he's pummeling the shit out of Steve. Poor Steve. But I kind of felt like Steve should have won that because it felt like the arc was sort of building towards Steve getting one over on him.
Yeah, but, I felt like it should have been the other way around. I feel like Billy should have had the upper hand for a while, but then Steve turned it round, But it was the other way around. He got destroyed. His face ended up like a big old bloated, bloody balloon. And then Max sort of injects Billy with some shit, makes him pass out.
White stuff.
Yeah.
It's like.
The white stuff.
No idea what it is, what it could do to him.
Just cowpole.
Cowpole. Yeah, he gets a bubble in his brain. He dies pretty quickly after that.
Yeah, horrible. Left there on the floor.
Yeah.
So they leave in Billy's car. They go and start a fire in the tunnels, which is to obviously draw the demodogs away from the lab.
Yeah.
Which is when 11 channels her anger into closing the gate, which is kind of just like pointing and screaming. Do you know what I mean? It's just like
double-handed, double nose, double nostril bleeding.
It was pretty much the same as the end of the first.
Me and Kat do this thing now. So when I leave for work in the morning, so I can see her through the front window, but she can't see my bottom half. So I like to put both my hands out and then go to my tiptoe, so it looks like I'm floating and sort of closing the door, closing the gate.
Is this real life?
Yeah, this is just what we do. Yeah.
I like it. See, if I walked past, I saw you. Did you did a walking down the stairs thing as well?
No, see, that's pretty lame.
That's the best thing,
No,
mate.
I'm joking.
That's my bread.
I've definitely done that.
That's my bread and butter.
Yeah.
So yeah, she closes the gate, and then we kind of do get a happy ending where Barb's given a funeral. Hopper's given a birth certificate for 11, so he's basically like a real dad. You're my real dad.
Yeah.
And then there's like a winter dance where everyone sort of pairs off. Max and
the
Lucas.
snowball. Yeah.
Yeah, Mike and 11
this was such a perfect way to end. Like it felt, I don't know, it felt so perfect. So the music, the way I found this is maybe one of my favorite scenes in the entire series. I don't know what it was. So you got Steve. He got the unrequited love thing here when he drops Dustin off and he's helped him do his hair all fancy and nice and stuff. He sort of gives him a bit of pep talk as he goes in.
Steve could have easily died a hero in this, I think.
Yeah, but I mean,
I wanted him to die.
You can't have Bob and him dying heroes. Just one. But and then what else? So Lucas and Max start dancing together. I can say Millie Bobby Brown. What's her name? 11 and Mike get to smooch.
Yep. Nancy dances with Dustin.
Yeah.
But then we do kind of see right at the last scene, we see the upside down again, and the mind flayers towering over the school. So even though 11 shut the gate, she didn't do it properly. The twat.
And that's how it ends.
And that is how it ends. But yeah, as I said before, like I felt, oh, what a bloody twat.
Yeah.
As I said before, I mean, I loved it. We do have, as I said before, sorry, I loved it, but I definitely preferred season 1. I feel like this went overall ground.
You know what's weird? So after this ended on such a high, there's last episode and that final snowball scene, I just thought like the perfect like little denouement for it. Like,
I think it kind of got there for me, but after episode 7, it was
got you there. Took a bit of.
we do have some comments in the
Oh yeah, shit, yeah, okay.
Horror Hangout Board of Advisors. So Tommy Draper says, I preferred season 2. I thought it was great. I'm big on nostalgia, so that helps. I think the pace of season 2 was pretty blistering, which I think is true. It was pretty blistering. And it says, apart from the scene of 11 out in the city, it had great structure. I think it did have great structure, but I think it was the content that I had a problem with.
Yeah.
Andy Conduit Turner says, I really enjoyed both seasons. That being said, I haven't been outraged by the criticisms leveled at the new one. Well, yeah, so he's kind of agreeing to that thing.
That being said, I haven't been outraged by the criticism level by the new one. Yeah, okay. I'm the same, actually, to be honest.
Yeah.
He says, I can see the points people are making on episodes that bait a spin-off or are a bit off the nose in terms of nostalgia, but the truth be told, I found the characters' stone performances engaging enough that the problems don't take away the enjoyment, and even when some things aren't as good as they might be, it still beats the pants off most of the trash on regular TV. I think this is the best TV show. Well, this and Black Mirror. I think those two for me are like the gold standard of like TV shows right now. I wouldn't
be as willing to call this God standard TV. I don't think, because I think God standard TV for me is TV I can watch and enjoy and pretty much have no criticism for. Whereas I felt like I had a lot of criticism for this.
Well, you're a moaner. You're getting a bit older. You know what I mean?
You're a bloody moaner, you are, aren't you? Stop bloody moaning. Just enjoy it, you miserable bastard.
So it's a gold standard TV then. So what have you got for yourself? Like, is Breaking Bad up there?
Yeah, probably. Okay. God standard TV, X-Files.
Really? Even the new season?
Yeah. I just love X-Files. I mean, I know it's got a lot of problems, but I love X-Files.
You sound like Shawn then in Shaun of the Dead, where she says, "These flowers aren't for me, are they, Shawn?" Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. X-Files is probably up there. Power Rangers season 1. No. I really like things like Sopranos, The Wire, Boardwalk Empire was one for me.
All good show. I mean, Sopranos I've never actually seen. Black Mirror. I mean, come on. I think Black Mirror is
Black Mirror definitely. Yeah. Also, some more comments. Matthew Stott says loved it. Season 1 gets the edge because it was new and fresh. Season 2 has a lot of great stuff, including the rise of Steve, King Babysitter.
I think there are very few shows where you genuinely love so many characters. Not Billy though. Billy can get to fuck, which I think he was trying to do to Mike's mum.
He was, who can blame him? Can you blame him?
I mean, it's someone's mum.
It's not your mum, though, Luke, so it's
No.
fine.
Hey, look, so let's look at this. Season 1, Rotten Tomatoes scoring. The critic score is 94%, and then the user rating is 95%. And the consensus is exciting, heartbreaking, sometimes scary. Stranger Things acts as an addictive homage to Spielberg films of vintage 1980s television. Season 2 got the same critic review, 94%, but it only got a 92% user rating. So it's like lost 3%. It's going on a downward trajectory. So Stranger Things, slow building, sophomore season, balances moments of humour and nostalgic sweetness against a growing horror. That's all the more effective thanks to the show's full-body characters and evocative tone.
Oh.
So I mean, both seasons are great. I mean,
Yeah.
but
One more comment from Edward Harvey, which I think I'm going to kind of agree with. So he says pretty much everything else unfolded as you would predict.
Yeah.
I don't mind too much. It was all pretty great, but what was happening, I do like to be surprised a bit more while watching a TV show or film. I think that's kind of, I feel a bit like that as well.
It
felt
did
like
feel very paint by numbers, didn't it?
Yeah,
But
it's good.
It's like
because-
it's like when someone gives you a roast dinner, and like you know what's on it, but it's all fucking fantastic, you know.
except Brussels sprouts. They can fuck off. Mate. You stuck a sprout in there again, haven't you? I thought it was chicken.
Yeah, but I know what you mean. I think a bit of horseradish on there wouldn't gone down a treat. Just a bit of spice.
Just imagine something like you were eating that roast dinner and suddenly just a bit of ice cream in the middle.
Cucumber.
Cucumber.
Okay, do you want some trivia?
Yeah, okay.
Okay, number 1. Chief Hopper's trailer only cost the art department $1 to purchase. True or false?
True.
It's true, apparently. It says Chief Hopper's trailer reportedly only cost the art department $1 to buy. But, I'm sure there's some sort of weird tax evasion thing happening there. Number 2, Gaten Matarazzo, the guy who plays Dustin, was the first actor cast for the show.
True.
Yes, that's also true. 2 for 2. Number 3, Millie Bobby Brown, who plays 11, is actually 29 years old, but looks so young on account of addiction to Nivea. True or false?
False. No one's addicted to Nivea.
I don't know. Number 4, Hawkins town was named after a character in Predator.
True.
It's true, yeah. In another homage to movie, Police Chief Jim Hopper is named after the character Arnold Schwarzenegger first goes looking for in Predator. You've seen that more recently than me. Is that true? I don't know. Can you remember?
False. False.
No, it's true. I mean, I'm just that wasn't part of the trivia. I was asking you a question, like genuinely. Is that
I'm so convinced that every time you ask me a question, you're doing trivia at me now.
How you doing today, Ben?
False.
Okay. Number 5. For their kiss scene, Finn Wolfhard quietly said to Millie Bobby Brown, although it just says Bobby here, "I'm coming in," to warn her about his kiss.
Bobby Brown. That's true. I know that's true.
And then Millie's like, "What are you doing, Mike?"
I'm coming in.
Ugh. Nice little visual there. The extras all clapped for their kissing scene.
You done a real good kiss. True.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Pretty. Okay, last one. Number 6. After 2 successful seasons, the Duffer Brothers have finally made enough money for the painful operation to separate their conjoined bodies.
True.
Yeah, it's true, that one.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. You did. I think you got all of them right. Even the question that I was just genuinely asking you.
I even got that right.
I guess we need to grade it. I mean, it's going to be difficult to grade it. It's kind of different to normal. But if you had to give it an A to an F, what would you give it?
I think I'd give it a B minus.
Cool. Yeah. What about season 1?
For me, season 1 was like an A.
Yeah.
Minus.
So I've got down season 1 A, season 2 B. I don't know. I always have to get that like whatever the 0.5 is more than your grade. Like it just. I mean, I'm a glass half full. You're like glass half full, but someone's pissed in this.
Glass half full, but it is piss. I'll still drink it. I'm not a monster.
Clean? There's a lipstick smudge here. Yeah. Have you dipped your finger in this cup? Okay. And that's it. Dude, this is like the longest episode we've ever done.
Jesus.
Yeah. It's a TV show, isn't it? Longer.
Yeah, there's a lot to go through.
Yeah. So next week we're going to get back on the list. I think it's number 19, An American Werewolf in London. A great film by Mr. John Landis.
Oh.
So I look forward to that. And yeah, so this show is brought to you by Hawk and Cleaver. Head over to hawkandcleaver.com and grab a free book. Become a patron for early access to episodes, bonus content, and heaps free stuff over at patreon.com/Hawk and Cleaver. Thanks to Kovacs Cowman for our theme music. Thanks to Acast for hosting the show. Thanks for the listeners. If you enjoyed the show, give us a 5-star rating and review in iTunes, and remember to hit subscribe. And thanks to my co-host Ben for being a real horror dude.
Thank you, Luke, for also being a real horror dude most of the time.